Another one.
Getting a bit of a habit now, isn't it?
But who can say no to a €300 Volvo? On a 7. Oh. Whoa. Yeah, that's... It would be nice to know if it's a runner, if the engine runs, if there's anything wrong with it before we pull it. It's stuck. It's stuck. So, let's get these plugs out then and see how it looks. Super tight in there. Aha. Yeah, that'll be the problem. Fuck. There's all a load of rust in the bloody bores. So water's got in the engine. Anyway, yeah, so having this open, having stuff open, I can't see a way in which water's gone directly down into the cylinders. I mean, maybe from this here, if it's filled up with water, because I think it was left with the bonnet open for quite a bit of time as well. Don't know what's going on with that one, number 4. It's black with like a green stuff on the tip. How weird does that look? And of course the rust on the outside. So there's no point. I'll just get the mixture in there and we'll see if we can break it free. Acetone, ATF. That'll do when it's not a science experiment. So I did actually just mix up another batch and actually use the plastic funnel this time. Much nicer. So yeah, now it's probably got too much in the cylinders, but of course it's better too much than not enough. So yeah, I'm going to let that soak in and we'll come back and we'll see if it can work and if it makes any difference. To be honest, I'm even going to take off this to get it out of the way and take the fan off. I'm probably going to take the cowling off, get this area nice and clear so we can get in there with a big bar and rock it without any obstruction. So one thing I'm going to do is put a battery on it and see what happens. I don't think there'll be any even ignition or anything, will there? I don't think anything will even work. There's no wiring loom. Be nice to see if the instrument cluster works, if it even lights up. Usual 740, 940 stuff, isn't it? That is quite a bad one because it's gone. It's took the whole corner out as well. Shame. Not that that really matters in the big picture, but it's just another thing, isn't it? I think there's too much stuff disconnected, to be honest. Right, day 2 on whatever this thing is. And I've been thinking about it. So realistically, with how stuck that engine is, or probably is, I did have another go last night at trying to free it off and it wouldn't move a millimetre. It's completely stuck. We've seen how the spark plugs look. I don't know if I'm being naive by thinking that I've got any chance here of freeing this engine off, because I don't know if that rust on the spark plugs is just from like condensation, or have the cylinders literally filled up with water at some point. Either way, it looks terrible. And even if we manage to get it free, if it takes minimal effort, there's just a little bit of surface rust and we can break it free and crack on, then it might be okay. But if it's heavily rusted, which I'm pretty sure it is, I mean, it seems to be that way, doesn't it? Even if we manage to break it free, and sometimes it can take weeks of this, soak it, try and break it free, soak it again, try again, soak it again, try all the products, and it can eventually break free. But in those cases, even these engines, when they're really stuck, even when they do break free, you can have big problems because the rings can still be stuck, for one thing. But what I'm most concerned about is the damage to the cylinder walls. If there's that much rust on the walls and around the rings and around the pistons and all that, even if you can break it free and even if there's a load of lubrication in there, you're going to scrape all that stuff around the cylinder. I don't know. I think even if we free it off, I don't think it's ever going to be right, is it? And considering it's only a little B200F, we don't want to lose any compression, do we? We need all the power we can save. We need all the power we can get. One thing I forgot to say, actually, I just realised something as I looked at it and how pink it is. Part of me, this is going to sound really bad, but part of me is actually happy that it's not savable, because I've already polished a pink Volvo estate before and I really don't want to have to do it again. I was actually worried about having to do it again because it's a lot of car and it is a lot of work to polish it back to red again. So once was definitely enough, especially considering it's really difficult to keep them red as well. Yeah. Anyway, let's carry on. So yeah, we'll set the manifold off. I think the exhaust manifold is going to have to come off with the head. The bolts, the nuts, they don't look very good at all. Oh, look how clean that is. Looks like new. It's so ironic. It's actually the cleanest Redblock I've seen inside. Look at that. Golden brown. There's no build-up that I can see. There's no black sludge or anything like that. Even over here, normally this part gets really black and you get a lot of build-up in here. But look at, still brown, golden brown walls. No crud, no build-up. Looks fresh as anything, doesn't it? It's a nice head, isn't it? I think hopefully, as long as the combustion chambers are okay on the inside, they're not too corroded, that'll be a really nice cylinder head. Considering the miles it's done, I think at least the oil was probably changed regularly at least, or you know, maybe it was done at some point. You know, it was cleaned and you know, head gasket was done and all that. So hopefully not, because that means it's already had a skim. But anyway, we're getting ahead of ourselves. I'm going to take out the head bolts. At least it's not an iron head. So what have we got? We've got a special mixture in there. Starting to see what I didn't want to see, actually, and relatively clean cylinder walls, which is bad because if it could have been freed off, we've took the head off now, so it's too late. But yeah, it is what it is. I mean, I had a good go on it and it was tight. So I think maybe my mixture wasn't perfect. I think it's had the acetone first and then the ATF. Somehow it looks different between two cylinders, which is a bit weird, but who knows, maybe I'm not even the first person to try and release it. But anyway, let's get rid of that stuff. I'll suck it out now and then we'll see how it looks. This reminds me of the Teletubbies for some reason. Tubby custard. Cylinders 1, 2 and 4 really don't look that bad. Can still see a bit of shine there. And they probably would have come back around without too much of a fight. But number 3, that's obviously the one that's really stuck, isn't it? You can see there all that rust in there. How are you going to come back from that? You can see all the bits in there, like from the rust. Should have blown out the cylinders with compressed air before putting the ATF and the acetone mixture in there. But there was a lot of water in there. I don't know how much of it was like water, how much was coolant that got in there from when I took the head off or what. I mean, it's difficult to say, isn't it? And it's difficult to get it all out through the spark plug hole, isn't it? So, or through the valves, inlet, outlet. Yeah, it's a bit of a mess, isn't it? I think either way, we would have been taking the head off, wouldn't we? So the question now is the cylinder head. This is the big question, isn't it? There is some rust on the tops of the valves near the valve seat, so obviously all that's going to want cleaning up. The head itself is aluminium, so it won't like exactly rust itself, but obviously it could corrode, but it's fine, isn't it? You can see there's rust around that valve. So to be honest, again, even if we had got it running, we probably would have had issues. What I will do at some point is clean it up and make sure it's flat. If it's not, and it's not too badly warped, of course it can still be skimmed. Yeah, I'm just going to crack on, just get all the bits off it, get it down to a shell, get the shell moved, get the working space back, and then continue on with this one as quickly as possible. So yeah, I'll see you in the next video, and thanks for watching.